Hi, this message is for the collective, and within the collective, this is for whoever feels it. For those that are coming from TikTok, hey, what's up? And for those that are seeing this on YouTube, or let's say seeing this on YouTube and you're on YouTube, hey, and welcome to this reading. This reading is for whoever feels it. I want to get right into it, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that this is a very different style of filming that I felt apt to trying because it's more similar to the way that I film my TikTok videos. The only downside is the fact that I have one hand and the other hand is stabilizing this camera that's in front of me. So there's that, but I'm excited to see how this goes. Let's begin. I was wondering how to start this because there are many different energies on the table and there are many different timelines. It feels kind of convoluted. And it's interesting because we have all this sword energy, and swords represent air in the tarot, and air is represented in astrology with Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. And why I feel it necessary to mention that is because there is an association with those signs or with air energy as it being aloof, kind of confusing, indecisive. It's like this air energy, and the air energy that I'm feeling is a combination of it in its highest state where it is clear and it knows what it wants, and then it in its lower state where it has no real idea. It's quite passive in the way that it's displayed, and it's very interesting to see how these two are displayed. It's so interesting because this comes off quite passive, even though it's a man, even though it's displayed as a man, but representing masculine energy. And here it's so active. It's in your face, and it's coming off as feminine as it is the Queen of Swords. So interesting. And are those flies around? Oh, those are like butterflies around her head. And then he has a dragonfly. Very interesting. There's so much imagery in these cards. This is the Rachel True deck, by the way. This is what the back of the deck looks like. I threw the box out. Anyways, so there's a lot of energies playing. And what I want to just state to describe the atmosphere that I'm feeling, and I guess this could be a point of resonance for you if this is if this resonates with you, this is for you. There's a lot of confusion that you feel in regards to a connection. A lot of confusion. I even forgot about the Seven of Swords here. There is just riddled with swords. And then look, it's like embroidered with swords, but then like the meat and potatoes, if you will, is the other three suits. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. And the more that I talk about it, the more I sweat and perspire, and sweat is the same thing, but the more activated. I feel so activated inside. I'm literally dripping. And I hope that doesn't sound gross, but even if it does, this is what happens when I guess energy is channeled. It feels so visceral or cathartic. It's like I'm feeling this. Anyways, the energy feels confusing in your connection. It feels so logical, yet at the same time, it just feels like semantics. If you will, it's like small talk everywhere versus getting to the heart of it. And look at, it's like, it's protected by small talk. I can tell that this guy, so this masculine energy and this masculine energy, let me just finish with him. This masculine energy in this connection is very protected, or at least he attempts to protect himself. And how he does that is with manipulation. He does that with mind tricks. He does that with, and his mind tricks are literally to not acknowledge the feelings that are felt. That's what I feel. It's so aloof. It's so detached. It's so withdrawn. And it's purposely done. They feel feelings, but it's purposely done because they are insecure. They're insecure. And the way they come off is not at all how they feel inside. This is more of a representation of what's happening inside of this person. They're scattered. Their energy is scattered everywhere. And there's like at the beginning phases of discovering themselves. And this is why they create so much damage around them, if you will. It feels like damage. They hurt a lot of people. Let me put it that way. And their intention is not necessarily to hurt, but when they recognize that they do hurt, they don't want to take accountability for it because they have a very sensitive ego. And if they do, there's this sense that then they are unworthy and deserve to feel the way they feel, which is so interesting because they don't feel good about themselves. So they're living a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, a lot of this reading feels like it's coming from the perspective of this wounded character, which is the Queen of Swords. This is her energy before she manifested as the Queen of Swords. So this is what she looked like before. And there was a power dynamic in this relationship. There was a power dynamic. There's this big heart, this empathetic person, that's the wounded person. And then there was this person that really knew how to word things, really knew how to appear. They were calculated. It was contrived and pretentious. But this wounded heart, so this wounded person, they felt them on the inside. They felt them. And because of that, they gave them a lot more leeway than they would have given other people in the past. And it became a focal point for healing because they recognized how they were codependent. And this connection highlighted the codependent energy that existed within them. And I can feel with how deep these swords are in, like deep to the point where they come out at the bottom, that this went far back in this person's history. So they had to go back. This is deep-rooted trauma. They had to go back to discover why it is they do what they do. So the barbed wire wrapped around this heart is the heart's recognition of how they got here. While the swords wrapped in barbed wire and the dangling parts represent hurt that was done to them. And because of how confusing this circumstance is, that hurt was very hard to distinguish. So I know that this wounded person blamed themselves for everything that happened. They blamed themselves for all the feelings that they felt because they couldn't understand these two energies of having hurt themselves, but also being hurt by somebody else. I can tell that within this weird power dynamic, this person used their words in ways that weren't very nice. They used their mind in ways that weren't very nice. And again, I'm feeling like I'm talking to this person. So this is who I feel this is the majority of the people that this card or the wounded person is the majority of the people that are going to be watching this video. And if I accidentally say you in this reading, I'm speaking to this person, but I do not want to exclude the King of Swords if he comes up in this video because his energy is also here. But this person feels like they're the ones that want to reach out. The energy that I'm getting from this person is that they were hurt, but they found it very difficult to take ownership they felt it very difficult to acknowledge that some of that hurt came from the King of Swords, and they found ways to take it on. Because what the King of Swords did was very covert. It was hard to acknowledge. It was something that you couldn't prove. It was just something that you felt and you knew that was happening. And although when you said your story, you complained to your friends or you expressed your feelings to your friends and they understood where you were coming from, they didn't fully get the gravity of the circumstance. And this showed you that you are the only one that's going to be able to validate or acknowledge your experience, because I can feel that this person is full of pride and they have not yet come forward to take any form of accountability or acknowledge the fact that they hurt you and they did it intentionally. I don't want to say they deliberately hurt you because they are they're reacting to you. They're reacting to you. And it's because although you showed up like this in the relationship to you, there was a power dynamic. What they saw was this. They saw the Queen of Swords. They saw that. But they didn't want you to see that yet because they thought that they could get to the King of Swords, this full energy, by the time they wanted to buy time to get to the state. They didn't do that because you were able to acknowledge that you were hurt. To be honest, you got to a state where you couldn't take it anymore. As like, if we just look at the card, it's bleeding. So you were brought to your knees internally, if you will, to a place where you could not take it anymore. And I'm realizing that this may be all over the place. So I wanted to apologize just a second ago. I'm not going to, because I'm honoring the feelings that I'm feeling. But going down the line of this Queen of Swords, how she became the queen to herself is she acknowledged that she hurt herself by putting herself in this situation, by recognizing the codependent energies that exist within her that stem from her childhood. But then also she recognized that she was hurt, and who hurt her was this king. And how she dealt with that was by removing herself from the circumstance. She removed herself from the situation, which also hurt her. Because if we can see what's going on here, at the end of the day, as toxic as this is going to sound, or it has sounded, this is a true match. They came together. So there is that awareness. And we get that confirmed here with the Two of Cups. There's an awareness that they are one. But with that said, it does not mean that everything that was experienced was all roses and daisies, because they have not united. As you can see, they're separated. They have not united. So to this wounded heart, they went through this internal fire. These cards feel so similar. And this, I feel, is the reason why I'm sweating. I feel like I'm in a pot of like a pot that's on fire. Or I'm in a pot and there's a fire lit beneath. And inside this pot, you're sweating out what isn't you. And there's a major transformation happening. So I can see that there's 3 different points in this timeline for the Queen of Swords. There's the wounded heart. So this could be somebody, this could be you, the wounded heart at the state, and you're going through the feelings of feeling all of the hurt, and recognizing and deciphering between the two. There is the one that is in this fire, this internal fire. You're walking through the fire to see what you really are on the other side, to see what really is you. And then there is the Queen of Swords, who now recognizes what she is. She's aware and she's holding the truth. Like, she was once confused with all of these barbed wired wrapped swords. She now is aware of what the truth is. So to describe this, I'm seeing that this is 12 minutes. I want to wrap this up. So to describe this person at this state. So at this state, you may be in an internal fire where you feel aspects, your life is on fire, honestly. And strength is required. Like, strength is needed, but strength and confidence and trust is needed. It's needed. You're fierce, and acknowledging that part of you, because of how soft you came off, is even challenging to accept. But you are both. You are soft and strong. And acknowledging the strength that you have, acknowledging the fierceness that you have, is going to show you what you are at the end of it, which is the Queen of Swords. She is aware, and she always was, but she never took ownership of that. She never stood in that power, which gave the King of Swords pseudo power. They still think about this relationship. This is something that they want. And would I say they regret? They know what they did. They know what they did to push the Queen of Swords to where she is, where now there's this distance. They are fully aware, but the Two of Cups here in the state lets me know that this is something that they constantly think about. And they are really trying to separate themselves from what brought them, or brought you to the space that you're in, which is this deceitful energy with the Seven of Swords. They withheld a lot of things from you. And mainly what they withheld from themselves is the fact that they were not solid on the inside. They weren't as strong as they looked. They didn't take, how do I want to say this? It's a persona. The way they appeared was a persona. Inside, they're scattered. Inside, they feel insecure, deeply insecure, and they try to use money to fill this, and it's just not working. What they need to do is look in the mirror. That's what they need to do. But it's too much. It's too much for them. What they did was hold back a lot of truth from you. And it feels like at one point soon, this feels like it's coming, is what was once held back is going to be a bouquet extended towards this queen. It feels like a bouquet of truth that's going to be extended towards her. That's what this feels like. I do want to wrap this up here. So if this reading at all resonated with you, please like the video and comment any synchronicities that you feel compelled to share. If you like this type of video, please also like it so that I know that you like this style. And if you like tarot content and you're coming from TikTok, subscribe to the channel. This way you can get longer readings and yeah, like you can see more things from me here as well. All right. I thank you very much for allowing me to connect with your energy. Let me zoom out. There we go. Thank you for allowing me to connect with your energy. And I wish you all the best. Although I know that things look kind of cold, there's a lot of distance. Just know that they think about you. And then the King of Swords, acknowledge the fact that you think about the Queen. Acknowledge it. And maybe you can use that acknowledgement to take accountability for who you are and stop looking at yourself as a failure and just take ownership for what you did in your entire life, going back to your childhood, similar to what the Queen had to do, so that you can now be in the present moment and not be triggered by what happened in the past. All right? Take care, and I'll see you in another video.